As we watch the news around the world, we are seeing that there are additional shutdowns happening all over because of COVID, and it can be a little bit scary. We know that the statistics from the first shutdown really impacted small businesses. Up to 60% of the small businesses will never reopen again. And some of those are service-based businesses. And so I wanted to give you 3 tips that you can implement today to not only thrive as a service-based business, but to overcome the possibility that you're going to be shut down again. And so service-based businesses are businesses like hair salons and chiropractors, and even online product businesses like website developers and coaches and training, people that do training, that sort of thing. So there's a huge gamut of people that are in service-based businesses, and we rely on those people regularly, and they were impacted pretty severely with the last shutdown. So I wanted to give you some tips that you can implement today so that whether or not there is another shutdown or a closure, you are prepared and you are putting your business ahead of the curve when it comes to both marketing and profitability. So without further ado, let's dive into what those are. First, it's always a really good idea as a business, regardless of what type of business you have, to re-examine exactly what it is your clients are requesting and wanting. A lot of times we get into our business and we go in with blinders on, and we don't really know what it is our customers are struggling with and what we can do to help them. And so let's take a look at, for example, if you're a chiropractor, you may think everybody comes to a chiropractor because they want their spine adjusted. But the reality is that people come to the chiropractor because they are having headaches, because they have lower back pain, because, all of these different things. And so you may be saying to yourself, well, those are obvious, but maybe there's something else going on that you can also help them with that you're not aware of. But if you don't ask them the question, like, what else is happening in your life? So for example, maybe they're struggling with not being able to exercise they want, so they're gaining weight. And so the weight gain is having them, or causing them to choose foods that are poor for them, which is only exacerbating the weight gain. Or perhaps another component of that could be that maybe they're going through some sort of hormonal change, whether that's, going through menopause or becoming pregnant or whatever that might be. And that's only exacerbating things as well. And so when you reach out and you ask those questions, it enables you to create a solution that better suits your perfect clients. And when you do that and you're able to speak that language to them and speak to them about what is going on in their world and how you can help them with that, you have grabbed their attention, and you will keep their attention as long as you're focused on them. So some ways that you can reach out and get that information: you can create surveys. I use a tool called SurveyMonkey. I will link to it below this video so you can find that, but it's a free tool. You can go in there and put questions in. You can use surveys or polls on most social media platforms where you can just ask a few questions, put a request for them to answer in the comments, or even create a poll that has several answers that they can choose from. Or you can send out an email and just ask your audience, depending on the size of your email audience, to hit reply and respond to you. And so getting answers from your current clientele and the people, your current audience, and the people that you interact with is really pretty easy. In fact, most people love to tell you what's going on with them. And so tip number 1 for you is to re-examine what is going on with your current clientele or future customers, or people that would be similar to people that you work with now that you really enjoy, and digging into their brain a little bit so that you know what's going on with them and how you can better assist them. And so when you have that information, you are then able to do tip number 2, which is create useful content for them so that you stay top of mind. And so what does that look like? What does content mean? That means when you're creating a blog post or a video like this that gets them information that they might need to, say, lower stress, or if you are creating maybe a podcast, an audio that you put in front of them. And so what does that look like in a business perspective? So I'm going to choose a different type of business, service type business this time. Let's say you're a hairstylist. We all know that everybody had COVID hair last time we had a shutdown. It wasn't pretty. But if you were a hairstylist and the only thing you could do if you couldn't work on people and do your normal services is to provide content and push them towards maybe a package that they could use later. So what would that look like? 3 quick hairstyles you can do for your next Zoom meeting that you can do yourself when your hair has gotten unruly. 3 ways to color your roots that won't damage your hair in the long run. 3 ways that you could try these 3 curling techniques to give your hair volume and lift. How to best wear a hat. Like, you could have, these are all a million ideas that you could have as a hairstylist that you can put in front of your audience, and they're going to take notice and go, oh my gosh, no other hairstylist is doing this. They're not giving us ideas. They're not telling us how to show up for a Zoom meeting so they actually look professional. They're not telling me how to hide my roots in a way that doesn't hurt my hair later, that can't be fixed, or that costs a lot of money to repair. And so when you have those ideas and you're putting them in front of people regularly, they're going to remember you. Now, the best component of that is when you're sharing those ideas to make sure you're trying to get their email address in some way, because then they become a captive audience, meaning you can put your information in front of them regularly. And this is especially helpful when you're coming up on the holiday season. Now, if perchance we go into some sort of shutdown over the holiday season, it's going to be really difficult to sell holiday promotions. So you may want to think about what that looks like for your business and how you can incorporate content around it. So let's use it. I have a couple more examples. Let's say you are a web designer. A web designer is another service-based business. And maybe people are pulling back the reins a little bit on investing on their website because they're not really sure what's going to happen with their business. They don't know if they have the funds to invest in a new website right now, but there are certain things that websites really need to have on board to be compliant and to make sure that their customers feel safe purchasing from them and giving them information. And so you could do feature articles on like things that need to be included on your website, like your privacy policy, what terms and conditions are and what that means, how you can be compliant with GDPR with your email list. The other one I had on here is how to complete updates so that your website doesn't look dated or old from 2020 to 2021. There are certain things that need to be done every year. Those are all content options that you could offer to your prospective clients or the current clients that you have. And the nice thing is you can repeat this information through multiple mediums. So if you create, say, a blog post and you have all of those things about the things that need to be included in your privacy policy in order to protect you and your business and your brand. Well, you could also create a live video on Facebook and talk about that same thing. And you could also create an email and send that out to your list. And then if somebody gets a lot of value out of that, you can ask them to forward that to someone else that might find it valuable as well. And so all of that to stay top of mind. One of the things that we've seen with COVID shutdown is that those live events, those live training events have had to move to a virtual setting. And sometimes when you are in a virtual setting, it is more difficult to connect with people, to captivate their attention, but also to stay top of mind, to get them to show up for the event. And so creating content to stay top of mind and stay in front of them is really important, especially since you're not able to get in front of them. And typically, people that are speaking at live events will be offering some sort of sales promotion at the end of their speech. That's typically what happens when you're invited to an event, whatever that next step of your sales funnel is. So how can you take that approach and morph it as a trainer into either a new business model or an addition onto your current business model, so that when things reopen and you can hold live events again, you can still have the business model that you invested time and energy into. And so when you're creating content, here's a few things that I came up with. 5 things that you could teach people to do before the end of the year is over to increase growth by Q1 of next quarter. And so you could do a blog post or a piece of content that talks about each one of those 5 things. That would be 5 pieces of content that you could create. How to outpace your competitors as a business owner, or as even somebody that's in corporate and wanting to outpace their competitors to get into another position. It all is going to depend on your audience, but you can think about the things that they're really struggling with and the things that are top of mind for your audience so that you can put your information, your knowledge, and your skills in front of them in a virtual way, both in a free perspective, but also in a way that they would pay to get results with you in a virtual setting. And then the other one I had in here is, how to plan for 2021. This is going to be coming up a lot in November and December. In fact, I have my own plan that I'm going to be putting out there for people to help plan their marketing for 2021. But 2020 has taught us that, all plans can fall apart. And so you have to learn to have just some fundamentals in place and then, shift and pivot as you need to and change things up a little bit and go with the flow. And so whatever content you can create for people that, you can give them value and nurture that relationship and then lead to the next step as time goes on, whether that's to come to a live event later or to join you on a virtual event, whatever that might be. But that content is going to help you stay top of mind regardless of your business type. And also build the relationship with the people that you put that content in front of. So let's move into tip number 3. And that is you may have to look at, and I just alluded to this, repackaging your products and services. And so you can take into account the survey results that you collected in tip number 1, but also what is happening in the world. You have to take into account what is actually happening worldwide with not only the shutdown, but with the way that commerce is going. And so if we go back to our example of a hairdresser, so worst case scenario, we get shut down for another 2 weeks or 4 weeks until cases dissipate and people feel safe again. That's 2 weeks that you're now behind, which in the world of getting your hair done is a lot of clients, it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of time to try to make up. In fact, there are still people that are still trying to make up that time from the previous shutdown. So what can you do to still serve your audience, serve your clients, and still have a revenue generating through? So some things that you could do is you could actually create something called the hair club. And what that would be is that you would have a guaranteed appointment time, and you would, maybe you get an extra conditioning treatment, or you get some sort of reward for the number of people that you refer or something. I don't know. You would have to create the details around that membership, but it would be something that would help you generate some income. And you could even put in there, if you book your next 5 service appointments, then you get one free. I don't know if that's plausible in that environment because I'm not a hairstylist, but it's going to take some thinking outside of the box to get through, what is happening now. And if your business is slowing, or if you by chance get shut down and you can't work. So how can you think outside the box so that you can still service your customers, even if it's not in this moment? As soon as you're able to, again, how can you make it easier for them to get in to see you and not make yourself insane? And then some of the other examples. So maybe you're a web designer and people don't have the budget to hire you to help them with their web design. So perhaps you have a quick online course with some additional coaching that teaches them to do their website on their own. And it's maybe a 7-week program. I don't know. You got to put that together. But that could be an option for you to repackage depending on what they want, what their struggles are, and where they want to be. And so all of those things have to be answered, and you're not going to know that if you don't go survey them and ask them, what's happening with them. But this is going to help you develop new strategies and new packaging around what you currently do. So let's look at our chiropractic example. So maybe one of the things you can do is you could create a chiropractic membership, and you have people that not only come in and get adjustments, but if they can't come get adjustments, you include things in there like stretches they can do so that they can alleviate muscle tension and stress and all those things, and things that they can safely do to relieve I'm trying to think, people's hips and their legs and hips get really tight because they are sitting all the time. They're on Zoom calls. And so what kind of feedback and tips and conversation can you generate around that so that you could still be serving your audience when you can't be in your office? So those are my 3 main tips. And if you tune into these videos very often, you know that I always try to give you a bonus tip as well. And so your bonus tip for not only surviving but thriving through another shutdown is to create one offer for Q4 and put all of your energy and marketing initiatives behind that one offer. What does it look like? And when you create a promotion strategy around that, I want you to keep in mind that you need to offer value, 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 and then promote your offer. So you see that 3 times the value to 1 time of putting the offer out there. So many times I have emails and promotions come across my desk that are just like sell, 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 sell. People want to know that you have their back. And when you're constantly trying to sell them something, they don't feel like you have their back. And it's not doing anything to build the relationship. So whatever you choose for that one-to-one offer, and maybe that's, something that we talked about in here. Maybe it's a membership for your clients. Maybe it's, ongoing support for your hair clients where you're teaching them. That's another idea. You could go in there and here's all the ways you can style your hair the way a professional hairstylist does it. And you decide you're going to charge $10 a month for that, and people are in there, and you put all of your marketing behind that. So thinking about what that looks like. And so if we were looking at I had another example here for chiropractors. Say your Q4 promotion, regardless of, being COVID or the common cold, is to, is to keep as many of your clients healthy as possible for the end of the year and into January. And so what you put together is an immunity boosting system. And you talk about foods they can eat, and you can talk about natural remedies they could use to improve their immunity, like vitamin C and vitamin D, and what levels are acceptable, and what kind of exercises they could do inside when it's cold that are going to help increase immunity, and how they can get support emotionally and mentally, and all those sorts of things. And you roll it into one package. And how do you put that in front of the people that need that support and are willing to pay for it? So that would be your Q4 promotion. So think about what that looks like for your business and implement that. If this video has been helpful for you, these 3 tips plus the bonus, I would love for you to hit subscribe on the video, and that way you're notified every time I put a new video out. And there are also some other videos in this same series. If you have friends or family or people that you care about that have small businesses in the restaurant or even a brick and mortar situation, there are videos that I've created for them as well. So I wish you nothing but success. Have a happy and healthy day, and stay well. I'll talk with you soon.